Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cheater's True Stories. I know many of you are here to dive into the real and emotional tales of infidelity. So before we get started, I think it'd be fun if you all left a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the episodes. Now, find a cozy spot, get ready, and let's begin today's story. If you feel this topic isn't for you, feel free to step away anytime. Yesterday was a day etched into my memory, unfolding in ways I never could have predicted. It started like any other morning, with the sun spilling through the kitchen window, casting a golden glow that made everything feel warm and alive. I woke up buzzing with energy, brushed my teeth, and headed to the kitchen, eager to whip up something special. Pancakes came to mind, my nephew Leo's absolute favorite. As I mixed the batter, the world outside hummed softly. Birds chirped, cars rolled by, and the pancakes sizzled on the griddle, filling the air with a sweet, comforting scent. I felt unstoppable, like nothing could dim this perfect morning. Leo shuffled in, rubbing sleep from his eyes, a sleepy grin spreading across his face. "What's for breakfast?" he asked, his voice bright with curiosity. When I said pancakes, his eyes sparkled, and we shared a quiet laugh as I flipped them to golden perfection. But then he threw me a curveball. "After this, can we explore the park? Maybe hunt for buried treasure," he said, his words sparking something in me. It wasn't our usual quick outing. This felt bigger, like an adventure waiting to unfold. Intrigued, I agreed, and after breakfast we packed some snacks and set off. The park was alive with light, the sun beaming down as we wandered through it. Leo's excitement was contagious as we uncovered small wonders, odd-shaped rocks, vibrant flowers, and curious little bugs skittering about. Every find lit him up, and his joy turned the day into something magical. By the time we trudged home, I was exhausted but buzzing with happiness. What started as a simple breakfast had spiraled into an unforgettable journey, and I realized I hadn't just made pancakes. I'd crafted a memory with Leo that I'd carry for years. But there was a twist I hadn't seen coming. Leo had this thing about hot dogs, obsessed with them, really. They were his breakfast must-have, a quirky demand whenever we ate together. I'd been so caught up in the pancakes that I'd forgotten all about them. As I tidied up, sudden panic hit me. "Where are the hot dogs?" I muttered, rifling through the fridge in a frenzy. Leo would be crushed if I didn't have them ready. I could already picture his disappointed frown, and the thought twisted my stomach. He'd be down any second, expecting his favorite, and I was coming up empty-handed. Just then, a small voice piped up behind me. "What's got you so worked up, Angel?" I spun around, startled, to find Leo standing there, his head tilted and a faint smile tugging at his lips. My mom's nickname for me, Angel, sounded so soft coming from him, and it steadied me for a moment. Flustered, I stammered, "Oh, Leo, I forgot to make your hot dogs. I'm so sorry." I braced myself for his reaction, expecting a pout or a grumble. He wasn't one to hide his feelings, after all. But instead, something extraordinary happened. Leo, who usually wore a serious, almost guarded expression, broke into a wide, genuine smile, a rare sight that caught me completely off guard. "I love hot dogs," he said calmly, stepping closer, his eyes locking with mine. "But you forgot, so do you want to have them instead?" His tone was playful, almost teasing, and he leaned in, closer than usual, like he was sharing a secret. I blinked, thrown by this new side of him. "Hot dogs for breakfast sound good?" I asked, still half expecting him to be upset. "Yeah," he replied with a shrug. "They're great." My heart started racing for reasons I couldn't describe, but there was clearly something in the air that made me nervous. Maybe it was Leo's demeanor, or maybe it was just the oddness of the circumstance, but I knew something was off. "I'd like you to taste this hot dog." Leo replied as he pushed his hands toward his package, which astonished me because it sounded unusual. And his actions were a little weird, but we don't have any. I hesitantly explained that I had forgotten to purchase some at the market. He seemed unconcerned with the lack of actual hots, almost stumbling over my comments. His attention was elsewhere, and I could tell something was odd about his demeanor. "That's fine," he responded, continuing to look at me in an unsettling manner. His hands continued to play with his package, and I wasn't sure what to do or say. Everything seemed to have altered in the air, as if there wasn't a shift. Ready for I attempted to remain cool despite my racing heart. "Perhaps we can just—" Leo glanced at me, still holding his package. "It wasn't about the food," he murmured softly, but I sensed a new level of tension in the room. It was hard to describe, but I didn't know how to cope with something wrong. All I wanted was for everything to go back to normal, but it appears that normal was moving further away. "Well, it's not the typical hot dog. It's a different type of hot dog," Leo said as the package in his pants became larger and larger. I suddenly felt unable to move. My pulse was racing, and I had no idea what to do because everything felt wrong. I stood there motionless, trying to make sense of what was going on. My mind was spinning with bewilderment, and the air felt thick. I kept thinking, "This isn't real, this isn't happening." But as I looked around, I knew something was obviously wrong. His package kept growing, and I could see that his pants were now wet. I tried to step back, but my legs felt weak, as if they refused to move. Leo just stood there looking at me with that peculiar smirk on his face. I wasn't sure what to say or how to respond to what was going on. I contemplated how I felt and went with it to figure out what was happening. He said, "Hold for a moment," with seriousness. "I'm going to let you try this hot." His remarks didn't make sense to me, but I remained still, expecting that things would clear up soon. Then, suddenly, his package, it glided and slithered right into my buns, leaving so rapidly that I had no idea what to think. My heart raced and I became even more puzzled. "Wait, this isn't correct." "Leo," I said finally. I hoped he would listen this time, but he kept going, leaving me his confidence. He started to move again, and I felt a rush of happiness. I was caught up in this strange feeling, and it felt nice to be able to express what I wanted. I wish I could just forget the guilt and focus on the moment. I realized that sometimes feelings can be confusing, especially when you don't know what to expect next. As we continued, I found myself enjoying the experience even more. The worries and shame began to fade away, replaced by a sense of freedom. I let myself sink into the moment, allowing joy to take over. It was as if everything else had disappeared, and all that mattered was what was happening right then. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and for once I could just enjoy being in the moment without any thoughts holding me back. "You seem to enjoy it so much," Leo said with a grin that made everything feel even more intense. His voice had a way of making the moment feel exciting, and I couldn't help but feel a rush of warmth inside. "Can I show you a greater experience than this?" he asked, full of curiosity. Waiting for an answer, he picked me up in his arms and carefully let his package slide through my buns. It was like he was giving me a special adventure, and I was caught up in the excitement of it all as he held me. I could see how much he wanted to make me feel loved. It was almost as if I were very alive, and in that moment I felt happy to be cared for. I could picture myself smiling, feeling warm and safe in Leo's arms. Though I wasn't moving much, it felt like I was part of something special. There was something magical about how Leo was treating me, making me feel important. I was having so much fun at that point that I didn't want him to stop. It felt exciting and new, and I wished we could keep going. I was completely engrossed in how wonderful it felt. I didn't care how long it took. All I wanted was for him to continue, so when he abruptly stopped, a wave of disappointment washed over me. I couldn't help but wonder why he had paused. I hoped he would resume soon. Just as I thought the moment was over, he said something that piqued my interest. "It's about to come out." Now he announced that I was perplexed and didn't understand what he meant. My heart began to race with curiosity as to what he was talking about. Perhaps it was something else. I moved in closer. I was eager to hear what he would say next, my mind racing with questions. He clarified, "This is the hot dog, and I would like you to try it." I blinked in surprise, trying to understand what he was saying. It was a strange idea, but something about his words made me feel intrigued. My imagination soared, allowing me to vividly envision his meaning. Perhaps this was all a part of a playful game, enhancing the excitement of our time together. I wanted to know what would happen next. I was completely taken aback when I saw Step act so quickly. He suddenly grabbed his right in front of me. Leo's package kept writhing and throbbing, and I felt a mix of fear and curiosity. It looked so powerful, almost like it was trying to escape and wreak havoc on everything around it. I was worried that my mouth wouldn't hold up, and I found myself holding my breath. Sight of Leo's package struggling made me nervous, but at the same time, I couldn't help but feel a little thrill from the excitement of it. I'd never seen anything like this before, and my mind was racing with possibilities. Next, Leo jumped with joy, exclaiming, "It's arrived. It's here." His eyes were closed tight, and he seemed almost like he was waiting for a surprise. I felt my heart begin to race, wondering what was going to happen next. The way he acted made me curious and a little anxious at the same time. I could tell that whatever he was excited about was something big, and I was eager to see it unfold. Then, without warning, my mouth reacted to the throbbing of his package, and it released a thick, whitish liquid, and it poured out through my mouth. Some of it I felt a little sad knowing that the exciting moment we shared was over, but I was grateful for the experience. When Leo finished, he looked so relieved, as if a giant weight had been lifted off his shoulder. I was still trying to wrap my mind around everything that had just happened, but he didn't leave me alone for long. Leo stepped forward and began to help me clean up the mess he made. As we wiped away the spilled venom together, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. To me, his smile was bright, and he looked genuinely happy. I blinked in surprise, still trying to understand what he said. Part of me wanted to laugh at how serious he was about hot dogs, but after our adventure, I felt a strange connection to him. As he walked away, I stood in the kitchen feeling a bit lost, and I realized I hadn't even had breakfast. Yet what started as a simple morning had turned into something unexpected and exciting. Still, I knew I had shared something special. That's all for today's story here on Cheater's True Stories. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the raw and real emotions. Maybe it stirred your thoughts or even your heart a little. Before you go, don't forget to drop a comment letting me know where you tuned in from. And if you liked this tale, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more. Until next time, stay curious, stay honest, and I'll see you in the next story. Take care, everyone.